Um, Hello, everybody. We have reached to the final session and the grand finale of FEED 2026, the competition, Decoding the District, Scaling Data-Driven Urban Solutions. I welcome our distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, brilliant young innovators, colleagues, and friends. We welcome to this pivotal session, Decoding the District. In this session, you should be expecting two interconnected parts. The first part is the grand finale of the GOBS hackathon, where top 3 teams out of the 40 teams present their data-driven solutions. And the next is a panel discussion where experts will dissect the practical pathways to deploy such data for real-world impact. Now, to give the context and to understand the very foundation of this discussion, let's watch a short video that introduces us to the powerful tool, India's 2.5D building stock dataset.
Especially in formal and incremental growth. As a result, planning relies on proxies rather than what actually exists. This is the gap the Geospatial Open Building Stack, or GOBS, is designed to address. Developed at AEEE, GOBS does not replace existing datasets. It provides a missing foundation, a nationally consistent, building-level reference layer derived from remote sensing, allowing existing data investments to finally work together. GOBS combines building footprints with height and floor estimation to calculate built-up area. Land use is inferred, uncertainty is retained, and quality checks are applied throughout. The result is a neutral, auditable building layer, not a policy answer in itself, but a reliable base on which better answers can be built. Today, This foundation covers 189 million buildings across more than 700 districts. This scale matters. It enables comparability across cities and states, reduces duplication, and supports analysis that can grow over time. GOBS does not measure floods, heat, or energy use on its own. Its value lies in enabling those datasets to move from abstract zones to individual buildings, improving precision, prioritization, and the link between policy intent and on-ground action. Once buildings become the common unit of reference, very different questions can be answered using the same foundation. GOBS is not a single application or sectoral solution. It is foundational digital public infrastructure designed so its value compounds over time across sectors, institutions, and geographies. Scan this QR code to explore the geospatial open building stack, how it was developed, and how it is already being used. And scan here to learn more about how AEEE is fostering a culture and market for energy efficiency to support India's climate action and sustainable development goals.
So as it is clear from the video, the focus of the session today is the application of the data set of the India's 2.5D digital data set. So I would love to start the competition, but before that, we can set the rules. Each team will get 8 minutes to pitch, followed by 4 minutes of sharp Q&A sessions from our jury members, who are also panelists for the later discussion. So let me formally introduce our jury members and panelists. Our moderator for the session would be Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, former director at National Institute of Urban Affairs. Our panelists would include Dr. Rahul Valavalkar, founder and president of NETRA, Net Zero Energy Transition Alliance. Ms. Sumedha Malviya, program head, building decarbonization and sustainable cooling at WRI India. And Dr. Satish Kumar, president and executive director at AEEE. So the screen will show a timer from 8 minutes to 0 seconds. 8 minutes would be hard stop, so teams, please take a note. Pitches will be judged on the following rubric: relevance, maximum 5 marks; feasibility and impact, maximum 5 marks; technical execution, method, and out-of-the-box thinking, again 5 marks each. So now let's the pitch begin. Let me invite our first team. Can we have the urban engineers here on the stage, please? And meanwhile they're coming here, team 2, please be ready because we are running very hard on time. So team 1, the stage is here. Urban engineers, stage is yours. Do the magic.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, sorry. This is not getting presented.
Yeah, slides.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Anushri and my colleague Akshay. We are team urban engineers. We have been given a hard deadline of 8 minutes, so we'll try to keep the presentation short. But I'm sure that the topic we are going to talk about today is not. So I think most of us in this room agree with me on the fact that cooling is not a luxury anymore, it's a survival necessity. And this building cooling makes up to a major factor of the total cooling demand in India. Along with that, cooling demand is also the fastest growing component in the urban electricity demand. When we talk about cooling, rapid urbanization becomes a very key factor, but the current energy utilities and planner lack the micro level understanding to relate building morphology to the cooling stress in Indian cities. Along with that, the current heat action plans majorly rely on the land surface temperature, which fail to account building morphology. And even though it in some terms talk about building morphology, it is not emphasized enough. So there is a need for a scalable data-driven method which identifies these urban critical zones based on building level characteristics. And therefore, we propose the composite cooling demand index, which quantifies structural cooling stress embedded in urban build form. Just to understand, this index is independent of income and AC ownership as of now. To understand the methodology, we have obviously utilized the GOBS dataset, and some of the key variables are taken into consideration like the area, perimeter, height, built up in land use. And then CCDI was formulated. So basically land use data we wanted to incorporate as a proxy to understand the activity-driven loading on each of these land use typologies. Now, why this particularly 4 variables is because building height talks about the vertical heat storage. Total built-up is associated with the airflow in the building. Compactness ratio is relative to the heat trapping. And as I mentioned earlier, land use penalty talks about the activity-driven cooling load. Now to give weightage to each of these indicators, we basically utilize PCA, which is principal component analysis, and thereby CCDI was formulated. All of the CCDI values have been normalized between the range of 0 to 1, and these CCDI values are for each of the building polygon. We have not used any of the averaging methods here.
Since we have parameters like a building height, total built-up area, compact ratio, and land use, we need a study area which shows a sharp contrast in this parameter. So we decided Mumbai city as our study area. It has a sharp contrast. Some parts has a slum, some part has a high rises. We further zoomed into Old Town area as our study area. In the north area, we have Dharavi, the largest informal settlement. In the south, we have South Mumbai, which has a high rises. So we incorporated this CCDI map in our study area and created this color-coded map. Basically, we categorize this CCDI in 3 categories on the basis of risk: critical, moderate, and low. To validate our data, we compared with a land surface temperature derived from a Landsat 9 April 2024 dataset. So if you compare the CCDI and LST, major part of city area shows a positive relationship with the CCDI and LST. If you see the snippet, this is the central part of our study area, Mahalakshmi area and Mazgaon Dock area, which clearly shows the positive relationship. And it also indicates that only city-wide application or approach is not enough. We need a neighborhood level approach, neighborhood level thinking, targeted solutions. Even though major part of our CCDI and LST are in sync for the whole city area, there are some areas which shows contrast. Like a Dharavi in the north, which is highlighted. We try to identify why this is happening. So we go back to the Google Open Buildings dataset, and these are you see the white polygons. These are from Google Open Buildings dataset, and the color coded are from the GOBS dataset. So due to the filtering process, like in GOBS, they filter out buildings which has a height less than 2.4 meter, and remaining this misses many polygons. So it creates that gap. If you see the Mumbai Climate Action Plan, it says that this informal settlement has a higher temperature than surrounding area. So this filtering is making vulnerable invisible.
So as we have already looked at the limitation of GOBS and the CCDI indicator, now let's look at how CCDI is helpful. So to understand the situation, we wanted to look at through 3 scenarios, which is basically the current status, how we can look at the exploitation halt, and how we can make the active improvements. So current planning uses the coast, land use, and ward level temperature data regarding the investment and the policy decisions. With the introduction of GOBS data set and using the CCDI, we can stop inefficient building cooling investments, like avoiding uniform citywide policies, prioritize high-risk zones in cities study area, optimize energy infrastructure investments, and reduce trial and error in heat action planning. Along with that, regarding the targeted cooling strategies using CCDI maps, identification of high cooling stress buildings, area-specific cool roof deployment, shared cooling and district cooling planning, and heat-resilient zoning and building controls. While we believe that CCDI incorporates a lot of morphological understanding in physical format, but certain layers are necessary to make the indicator more inclusive in its format. Like when we talk about planning and policy insights, mapping of heat trapping areas through green cover and water bodies are crucial. Protecting and heat resilience, so socioeconomic sensitivity, talking about household income and expenditure deciles is crucial. And when we are talking about structural and demographic risk, building material, ventilation, and also the population of elderly child is important. So to make CCDI more in check with reality, these parameters could be a further way forward. Thank you.
Now we open for questions. I'll be providing mics pretty soon.
Thanks for the presentation. So just noticing the use cases that you had, a question I had regarding the relevance of CCDI in optimizing energy infrastructure investments. Now you have building sector data, but not necessarily the distribution, the kind of assets, the electricity, assets information, which is usually not always correlated or it's usually not something to consider. Have you thought about what kind of data you would need for coming to this use case of optimizing energy infrastructure investments?
I think CCDI is it's not an alternative for an indicator. It is just another layer which could be added to make the decision making more logical in its sense. So when we talk about energy infrastructure, a lot of things comes into picture. In that, building level intervention or building level data set could be another layer.
Okay. A related point was just the CCDI, right? You've taken compactness, the building height, the built up area, and I'm forgetting the fourth one.
Land use.
Land use.
Yeah.
A lot of the heat trapping nature of buildings is also because of the materials that are used in these buildings. So how have you considered that?
So because of maybe the timeline and the time frame, we could work only on definitely we wanted to work on the social parameters and building material parameters, and a lot of this becomes important, but because of the time frame we could not incorporate that as of now in the CCDI indicator, and that's why we have listed it as a future scope.
Okay, thanks.
सॉरी मैं बहुत सिंपल क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा। तुम्हारी रेसिपी जो तुमने बताई वो 5 स्टार रेसिपी है, 5 स्टार किचन के लिए, पर ये रेसिपी सेकंड टियर और थर्ड टियर में चलेगी? क्योंकि मुंबई 5 स्टार सिटी है, आपकी रेसिपी वहाँ काम करेगी या नहीं करेगी?
सर हमें लगता है कि काम करेगी। पर्टिकुलरली महाराष्ट्र जैसे एरिया में हमने फोकस किया था, तो लगता है कि वहाँ पे टायर 2 या मतलब म्यूनसिपल काउंसिल सिटीज़ लेवल पे सिटीज़ है या सिटीज़ जो टायर 2 या टायर 3 है वहाँ पे काम करेगी, क्योंकि जो कॉम्पैक्टनेस हम लोग यहाँ पे कंसिडर कर रहे हैं वो भी वहाँ पे एप्लीकेबल होगा।
ठीक है, थैंक यू।
नाइस वर्क। वन क्वेश्चन, are you able to integrate any other data sources to try to fill in the gaps which are there in the GOBS database? So have you started doing any work in terms of looking at alternate data sources, what data sources you found out which were available or missing? Can you share any insights on that?
So we didn't started working on it, but we noticed some of the gaps. Some of them we listed, like the filtration process that was done could be filled in through the Google Open Building datasets. Another typology, like the lot of land use typology that I listed, many of them were categorized as miscellaneous. So currently the random forest method were utilized to prepare the overall dataset. So maybe some more sound methods could be done to to categorize those miscellaneous categories also into specific residential, commercial, or industrial like categories.
Okay.
But we haven't, as of now, started doing that job.
Okay. And when you're talking about some of the specific targeted cooling interventions based on this data, are you able to also factor in some of the economic discrepancy? Because again, when you are looking at city like Mumbai, right, there are a lot of different areas with different type of residential versus commercial versus other form of economic disparity. So how will you able to incorporate in terms of the cooling intervention, ensuring that these are practical and not just theoretical intervention, which may sound good for an academic report? Can you share any
So I think most of us in this room are trying to do that. I'm talking it into in books and reports and making it a situation or a solution that is practically implementable is a long way to go. So maybe with collaborations and a lot of interdisciplinary mindsets could come up to make this actually a solution that is implementable. Yeah.
Sir, we have identified the areas, like using CCDI, we can say that this area needs, and then further we can go there and see what are the socioeconomic factors there, and try to think like district cooling and all these factors.
Are you talking about that as a offline activity as a follow-up step, or are you able to use any other data sources, other initiatives which can get integrated so that this solution can be scaled?
So this is a further activity which we are suggesting. It's not, we try to do some, try to check the NDVI and all this factor for the building material and all, but we could not come up with a proper solution to give some proper data to identify the issues.
Okay, thank you.
So I have just one question and also good investigation thing on identifying that some of the informal settlements are missing. We can have an offline discussion. It's not just 2.4 meters, but there could be other reasons behind that. One question is that you said that the heat action plan that are currently being developed can actually be done in a better way with the CCDI thing. And then the CCDI thing, the way I looked at it, that you have a high risk like which is 0.32 or higher, something like that.
Yeah.
So there was a very low sort of ranges, and then you have this massive range. So because I don't have a context for like CCDI, how is it working? So I was just wondering that why this non-linear sort of like categorization, what does that mean? So maybe those two questions.
Maybe we can check it further, but I think it was basically on the risk level we try to understand it. But yeah, definitely the ranges could be rechecked and understood why this is happening here.
Okay, and any comments on the heat action plan? How do you think this can actually help?
Sir, basically, if you not only heat action plan, in planning we consider sector as a basis unit for all planning, or the population density measures and all this. So we can further dilute the sector in the neighborhood level, and that's what we are suggesting. Instead of only whole city approach, or if you see the Malabar Hill has a higher say in many things, but Dharavi or other area might not have because of social economic factor. So if you identify that area, and then we as a policymaker or anybody who works in government try to identify why this is happening, what we can do as a solution. So that can we do.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. The presentation was well within time, but question answers were not. So I think this is the first team. First team has certain disadvantages and has certain advantages. So we can let it slide. Next team onwards. I invite the team 2, team resources cities. Same rule applies to them. Do we have team resource city here? Okay, we have here. Same time applies. Keep an eye on the timer, which is 8 minutes. It will count down to 0. And this time, I request the panelists and jury members to please have one question. And let's please try and stick. Otherwise, we'll stay here till 7 p.m., which we don't want. All the best. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So we are Team Resource Cities. I might not be a young professional myself, but the other two in my team, Dheeraj and Ritu, are, and it's very much their effort that I'm presenting here. So what we tried to do was we tried to investigate what could be a data-driven design to make reuse-ready construction materials, right? Because we have been talking about circularity in construction industry, there's servitude that we have talked about, but what we have seen is in India, it seems like there are some practical problems in implementing the core of reusing and keeping the resources at their highest value and not letting them go into waste and landfills. So we are trying to get to an analysis that would help us in developing a logistical understanding of that. Quickly, the context, it's, we took Bangalore as a prototype city, and it has 6,000 tons of C&D daily waste generation, that is 2.2 million tons per year. So only 30% of it is kind of processed. And when I say process, it goes to directly almost zero value. That is, you make aggregates out of it, or you crush it to, or make it into wood chips or something. So the problems that we identified was lack of inventory, uncoordinated demolition or dismantling timings, and we do not know when they'll do reactive logistics, and we have been since last 75 to 100 years, we've been making logistics for take, make, and dispose kind of a linear economy, but we've not made reverse logistics in place and efficient hub systems. So material supply score, we tried to develop a material supply score based on the GOBS data that was there, also dismantling likelihood based on the compactness and other factors in the GOBS data. And then we tried to find out what could be the logistics of making hubs so that these materials can be efficiently taken out. And then maybe if some processing or some sort of trust building has to be done, that can be done and then distributed throughout. So the first one was the data that we took was building footprint, geometry, height, land use, building IDs, lat long, prediction and confidence data. We tried to make calculate the amount of material that we have at the various points in the city, and what would be the demolition likelihood, which was based on floors, how many floors are there, or what is the total volume that we're looking at, what is the compactness ratio, and so on. Further, we also tried to use the OpenStreetMap to understand the road networks and to identify the primary, tertiary, secondary and tertiary road networks to find out what is logistically viable for extraction, storage, processing and distribution. In material supply, and then we took material supply scores, logistic access scores, demolition, dismantling likelihood score, and multiplied it with the trust factor to come up to a index which we are calling as RLRI, which is Reverse Logistic Readiness Index. This helps us in kind of mapping in the city where all the dismantling likelihood is. We can also map logistical access to various, the score, and we can see where the reverse logistic, is very doable. Then what we did was we put it on a spatial analysis and did a grid aggregation, where we made a grid of 500 meter by 500 meter, and we started putting this RLRI for each of the building stock that was there in Bangalore's data, and identified where the hotspots were regarding where the supply was high and where. Also, the buildings were near a primary or a secondary or a tertiary road network, right? So based on the distance from the roads that there were. Finally, we came up to hub scoring. That is, once we have these grid points which were hot mapped, we tried to see again where these grids were closer to a primary or a secondary or a tertiary road links to understand how can we score the hub location in the entire city so that this would make an infrastructure for reverse logistics for circularity. So this was the result of that. We've used Alteryx and Tableau to bring out this data, and the first 10 ranking hubs have been identified. Of course, there's a lot of data. The cost of land and all have not been taken into consideration in this. So potential impact, and I think this is the most important slide. What we have found was just with these first 10 ranking hubs, if you're able to just take the catchment area of these hubs and be able to take out the materials at their highest values, identify where the dismantling would happen and, focus on their maintenance, extract them at their highest value, bring up trust with some certification, something in the hubs, and then redistribute using reverse logistics. It was increasing the efficiency of waste reduction or, waste going to landfill by 35%. So that much waste was diverted from the landfills and back into the building stock. That is about 25,000 tons per day and 750 kilotons material reclaimed annually. So that does not only have impact on CO2 emissions or equivalent emissions reduction, but we also understand that sustainability is about ecological safeguarding, right? It's not only about how much CO2 is or equivalent gases are there in the atmosphere, but also about how much are we going to extract and who are we going to, dislodge from their own living conditions, and for extracting that, and how much energy we take for extracting new resources, of course. And of course, for landfills, where are we going to put all the waste that C&D is generating? So this will help us in policy support, infrastructure planning, of course, and actionable circularity, which is right now much more theory, and we would want to bring it into action and empirical findings. So conclusion, urban mining at its core is sophisticated, but if you're able to bring in some sort of practicality to it, through this data analysis, that was our aim. That's our team. Thank you.
Thank you. A very nice presentation. I must say that. Congratulations. Every chef has a signature dish. Is this your signature dish? And if this is your signature dish, then 5 years down the line, what changes you see in Bangalore based on this? That's one. And second, with this product, who is the first person in an urban local body you will approach? Who is going to be the buyer of your product in the urban local body? Right.
So to answer the first question, if this is my signature dish, then in 5 years down the line in Bangalore, what I would see is materials being extracted from the older the residential or commercial. Here we took mostly commercial mixed-use buildings, but of course residential as well. And how do we make, how do we start designing how buildings can be dismantled very easily for the future buildings? I think the first takers of this would be, right now, people call themselves, or these infrastructure members call themselves as demolishers, but they would become dismantlers and material providers. We have salvage houses in Bangalore and other cities, of course, but they're not focusing on how to keep the resources at their highest value, right? They're thinking about recycling and sending it to chippers and sending the waste to aggregate making. But this, I think, if I had to be, and I want to be maybe one of the first takers, I would want to become the dismantlers of construction and not demolishers. So that's my take on it. Yes. Yeah.
You can take.
Yeah, so lot of questions. Demolition likelihood, what is the basis of that? You had said something to do with floor area. So that's one question.
Right.
I'll also ask a few others. Why use the C&D waste back in buildings? Right now, most of the C&D waste, actually not most, but a lot of it is used in infrastructure projects for laying out the roads.
That's right. It's only...
And also, how this will contribute to already existing congestion in Bangalore roads.
Right. Thank you. So, right. The first thing is, first question was, sorry,
the demolition likelihood.
Right, likelihood. So the demolition likelihood, we would have wanted to use the BBMP data or data of when it was constructed, when it was, signed off, for identifying which buildings. Oh, it's not actually, sorry. So, so to identify, which buildings have been built at what point of time and the age of the building and the materials of the building, because that data we already put onto that, this thing, which is not publicly available. Right now, what we did was we used the floor area to calculate and the height of it and the perimeter of it to calculate the compactness, which it tells us is the more compactor the building is, it could be a newer or more, and also we calculated the density signal of how much density was there in that. So if it's more compact and linear and, densely situated in a space, we are assuming it to be a newer construction, not likely to get demolished very soon. But if it's a large, not very densely populated area and the compactness ratio is little low, then we are considering that this may be an older construction, which is likely to get demolished soon. So for current data, availability is what we have taken. So it's more on a process approach. These parameters and these factors can be changed as the research grows. I'm also a research scholar on this topic in NIT Trichy, so I hope I'll be able to put in more information. Yeah.
I'm going to proceed. But if you have questions.
So interesting approach. Are you able to also tie it with the usage, since you are trying to make this material used into other building construction? So have you thought about how to connect the supply with the demand?
Yeah, not in this solution, but in my research, yes, we are trying to see what is the taker's take on this, right? What is the users?
You should be able to find out locations where there is a construction going on or there is a blank space, right?
Right. We can definitely,
yes. And then find out the most efficient. That would help straight away to make
definitely, yes. We should have thought about it, of course. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm sure people are hating me right now to cut, but I think we have to follow the time. So can we have the third team here? That's the last pitch for today for this competition. So let's welcome Team 3 Musketeers. And a huge round of applause for all the teams. Again, same rules. 8-minute timers on the screen. You'll get buzzer at when 2 minutes are left. And the stage is yours. All the best.
So, good afternoon. I'm Atransha. I'm a second year student, and with me I have Tanveer and Sumindra, who are first year students from Platsha University. And we are here to present a new paradigm in urban climate resilience, something called as building level heat risk intelligence. So what we did was we shifted our focus from district level averages to the lived reality of individual citizens, analyzing over 1 million data sets across Delhi. So here, as we can see, we clubbed the GOBS dataset, which is a micro-level building dataset, with a global rural Earth engine dataset, which is a macro-level satellite imagery, to process 1+ million buildings. And then we did a HRI calculation, which is backed by the IPCC framework, by which we had some features list where we categorized the areas in critical, high, medium, and low. Also, we integrated the Gemini API with our model, which gave us insights which urban planners could use to implement.
So moving towards the datasets, we have combined two datasets, GOBS dataset and Google Earth Engine dataset. From the GOBS dataset, we have taken the building height, building floor, land use and footprint area. While in the Google Earth Engine, we have taken climate and environment data from the ERA5 land datasets, then Sentinel, JRC and ESA world cover datasets. Further, we have at the end, we have combined both these datasets with their geometry that has been the primary key in both of these Google Earth Engine as well in the GOBS datasets. So now moving towards the formulation side.
Coming towards the formulation side, our heat risk index is evolved over the IPCC climate framework formula. While we have retained the core components of it, like hazards, exposure and vulnerability, we have engineered a third dimension called cooling axis. The formula is then product of first the thermal demand, which combines external heat with the building response, like how well the structure itself traps or sheds heat. Second is the vulnerability. This accesses the sensitivity of the area, like how the land is being used. Is it a residential or a hospital or a industrial? It being used by an industrial corporation. Third is the cooling axis. This is our mitigation factor. It accounts for the existing relief structures like vegetation and the proximity to the water bodies. Crucially, we have every variable you see here has been normalized to a common scale between 0 and 1 to prevent data skew. And this is how we get to our heat risk index data formula.
Now let us visualize what our model can do. First of all, on the top left, the building level scatter plot is there that is providing us the critical buildings on the Delhi region. Next, we have aggregated all this data, all these buildings into one common specific region that is provided by the GOBS dataset. So according to that, we have categorized into the HRI index against their HRI index. And here we can see that Southwest Delhi is having the maximum HRI index. For both these plots can be used for policy interventions and government policies related to it. Further, on the top right column, we have heat map that is providing us the relationship between the HRI index with their specific features like thermal demand, cooling excess, and etc. And in that also we can see that Southwest Delhi is having the maximum HRI because of low NDVI and high thermal demand vulnerability scores. Further, at the end, the two scatter plots are there that are at building level, providing us the building level ratio in the Delhi region of every specific region and also the HRI against these buildings at the building level HRI index of these. Now moving towards the next.
We have created a dashboard which we can show, which takes account of, since the heat risk is unevenly distributed across Delhi, we have categorized buildings into 4 categories: low, medium, high, and critical categories. We can get the insight by plugging the data into district, in the district column risk category and the building ID, which will then gives a list of all the buildings which of that district under that category. So here is the demo of the dashboard. By plugging in the values, after running the analysis, we can get on the right side an interactable satellite view of that area along with the heat risk index value. On the right side, it shows all the possible mitigation strategies which can be applied to reduce the risk. It also provides at the bottom, it also provides us the projected decrease which can be achieved based on our mitigation we can use through this dashboard.
So now moving to how we can improve the model. So currently we haven't taken any socioeconomic variables into our consideration, such as household income or age demographics, even other things such as roofing materials, wind speed. So we would like to incorporate them and identify where the physical heat risk intersects with the social vulnerability. Also, the Gemini API outputs that are given to the urban planners, we want to see how much impact does it actually happen and how feasible it is to deploy. Thank you so much.
Great, you are 2 minutes early actually.
Yeah.
You should be congratulated.
Thanks. Sir.
Hello. Again, nice presentation. A lot of data you showed which were like this for my head, so I didn't understand any of them. But मेरा simple question है, तुम्हारे पास lyrics भी था, तुम्हारे पास composition भी तुमने अच्छा किया, और तुमने म्यूजिक भी रहमान का दे दिया, पर ये छैया छैया क्यों नहीं हो रहा है मेरे दिमाग में?
Like we have combined both the two datasets of the Google Earth engine, from where we have taken the NDVI datasets, water distance, then greenery, then TCR, and we then combine the datasets with our GOPS dataset based on the building geometry. So both these datasets, when are interconnected, then we have formulated our final formulation idea. At the end, we have calculated the HRA based on the IPCC framework. But further, we have improvised that IPCC framework too with the multiplication of the mitigation factors.
So that is my exact question. ये data set अगर तुम urban local body को दो,
yes sir,
तो क्या urban local body छैया छैया कर सकती हैं कि नहीं? That's
yes,
as simple as.
Yes sir, they can do actually, because this data set is on building level data set. So any government can see all the critical buildings that are there in the Delhi region, and then they can see that what interventions they want to take, because it provides us HRI along with what is the greenery of that area, what is the heat of that area, and also provide us the mitigation strategies that government can take along with the what cost will it take for the government to do that implementations.
So whichever is feasible for them to implement, they can go ahead with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think a very nice presentation. Just a couple of things. I think when you are saying that you are doing this hazard, access, and vulnerability calculation, and you are combining the two data sets, do you think that this assessment of the hazard and vulnerability, this can be enhanced, I think, if you overlay some more layers, I think, onto this? And what could be, I think, those layers?
Yes, sir. We can actually enhance the formulations by combining these datasets with the like building materials. We can take the datasets from the Sentinel again for the building materials, getting the tiles and exposure and reflectance of that building. We can combine all that datasets with our actual formulations and then improvise further towards the HRI index of it.
Okay. And while working on this project, did you take help of any faculty members, or I think this is your own product?
No, so there's a faculty member called Anupam Sopti sir. He is specifically working on the geospatial data. So he was the one who guided us with this project. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay.
Can you talk a little bit more about how you are integrating Gemini and what more insights you are getting there? And also in terms of the interventions, if you can just elaborate a little bit more with some examples so that it becomes clear to people, because what you're doing is quite interesting, but in terms of especially intervention and how you're using the AI layer as part of the engine.
Yes. So first of all, we have calculated our HRI index based on the formulation that we have calculated. And then we have import that datasets. And then from the backend, we import that dataset in the backend feature. And we connect it with the FAST API. And we take all the parameters that are required to put into the Gemini API key. And for that, we have used HRI, thermal demand value, cooling excess value, and then vulnerability value, and temperature and NDVI. After that, we have given these values to the Gemini API, and along that Gemini API is then seeing what interventions can be done through it. So Gemini API is alongside providing us mitigation strategies. Alongside it is calculating the average impact that has been done. So basically, average impact has been shown by the Gemini, and all these interventions have been shown by the Gemini. And in the front end, we have just display all these data sets, and the map feature that we have integrated it, we have used from the geometry was provided to us through the GOBS, and from that we have taken the latitude and longitude, and then integrated the Google map with the front end through it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
That was the competition for everybody. Now to have the panel's discussion, may I please request our moderator, Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, to be here? Okay, sure.
We'll take it later.
So our jury has decided, and now we are ready to proceed with the panel discussion. May I please request Mr. Hitesh Vaidya, Dr. Rahul, Ms. Sumedha, and Dr. Satish to be here on the stage. Sir, mic is yours. Please lead the session.
Good evening. I am the last batsman. I am feeling कि मैं हरभजन सिंह हूँ जिसको बॉल दे दी गई है और बोला है कि मैच तो फिक्स हो गया, आप जितने ओवर करने हैं कर ले, तो फिर को कोई रोकने वाला नहीं है क्योंकि मैच ऑलरेडी इंडिया जीत चुका है. So I know we are running out of time, so we'll keep it short and we'll keep it as pointed as possible. But it was, I feel, first of all, thank you, AE, for inviting me. Sometimes what happens is that a year back, I was playing match. And now I am in the pavilion. But pavilion वाले को आप बुला लेते हो moderate करने के लिए. For that also thank you. But I do see that I will try to be a Navjit Singh Sidhu from the pavilion and not leave it as just a spectator over there. So hope I'll do as much as action as I did while I was on the ground now that I am on the pavilion. So thank you for that. I think today we are meeting in a very time when three of the documents which was released last week, and I think all three of them had a real impact on the discussions which I heard today and overall theme of this thing. We had economic survey which came out. We had 16th Finance Commission report which came out, and we had this urban budget announcements which came out. And I think one clear message which came out from all these three documents was India is not failing. India's cities are not failing because of lack of ideas. We have enough ideas. We are failing because we are unable to translate these insights into action. And I think that's the key message which is coming up. And second message which we came up, and I think also the presentations which young people did right now, while we are looking at building separately, finance separately, climate separately, and digital separately, I think the convergence of all four together has to happen if we really want the urban transformation to happen in the country. And I think these were the key messages, and I thought during the last two sessions which I attended, as well as the overall theme and the kids which came up, I think these need to be really translated, that only data will not happen. How do you convert data into action? I think that's the key message, and that's where I'll start my first question with Rahul on that background. Rahul, I know you are making a lot of investment decisions, and investment decisions doesn't happen just like that. They are like a decision making in a pressure cooker, and you make this decision because the pressure cooker की सीटी कितनी बजेगी depend होता है उसमें ingredients क्या, मसाला क्या है, उसका data क्या है, and the type of data which you saw. How do you see this qualitative data we need to move towards to make that investment decision right? Because utility will not rely on just talk. They rely on hardcore data. So as a person who is looking at transition, how do you see data as important in making that decision there?
Sure. So thank you very much, sir. So this is a really important question. I think I'm from the energy management sector as my original DNA, and there is a saying that unless you measure something, you cannot save or cannot improve on it, right? So data has to be the essential part, and that's where when at Energize, Satish and team launched the GOPS database, I was really excited with the effort, and again now taking it to the next level in terms of hackathon, and now allowing the kind of ingenuity of private sector or even students to come into it. That's going to be the key, because data is essential, but data is not sufficient condition, because it is just one of the ingredients in making the investment decisions. Now the most crucial part will be how do you integrate this data with other data sources which are available, and start drawing insights, and that to actionable and investment grade insights. That's where I think some more work which is required. But just in a span of now 3 months since the launch of the database, I think we have already reached a stage. So I'm very, very optimistic that instead of sometimes the investors do take approach of spray and pray kind of a thing where they will go with a hunch or they will go with a gut feeling. But these type of tools and platforms can really help in investors to make really smart decisions, because ultimately we are still a developing country, and there is always a resource constraint. So we do need to make smarter decision. And then one more layer I would hope that we can do it is we can start drawing these insights and feeding it back into the policy insights, because many times policies are also driven in absence of perfect data. But if this type of if we can make it sort of a complete loop where the new policies which are coming in, they start taking some of these insights from these analytics, and then that will influence better policies, then those insights can be again integrated back into the model. That would be really helpful.
Great, thank you. I'll come back to it. We have a time for a second round of questions because I have some follow-up questions on that, but for the sake of time, I'll stop here right now. I move to Satish ji. Satish ji, while data is important and it's the key ingredient, we also talked about policy. But we also know कि पॉलिसी बनाना और उसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना, उसके बीच में बहुत लंबा गैप हो जाता है, और एंड इट समटाइम्स इट्स अ longest distance one has to travel. From your experience, what is the most significant barrier of turning today's ideas into a city level action?
So thanks, Hitesh ji. And I think some of the points that Rahul mentioned, I also come from like a technology background and this thing. So I do feel that data has to play an important role. And my experience has been that a lot of the policies are, just like you are saying, are also being made on hunches. And just because people know that if we take the building sector, I think all of us are kind of familiar with the building sector. So हम लोगों को लगता है कि okay, we will do appliance standard, we will do building energy codes, we will do some retrofits and financing. And these are like most of the policies इसके around घूमती हैं और ये चीज का होता है. But अगर हम लोग देखें, जैसे हम लोगों का involvement था इंडिया कूलिंग एक्शन प्लान में, and then we are also working on developing this decarbonizing the built environment roadmap for Niti Aayog. So one of the things that I like about this GOBS development, that almost for the last 20 years, we have been grappling, यार इंडिया में कितनी buildings हैं और कितना construction per year हो रहा है, और बार बार आता है 2047 में क्या होगा, 50 में क्या होगा, 2070 में. And if we don't have a good grip of this very basic information, that what is the current building stock, and I think what's our growth rate. So I felt that, and many I think of us like who are participating in the event, all have done estimates on some of these things. And we have all secondary information. अब किसका assumption better है और किसका ये है, who is going to decide? मतलब everybody is going to back up their own sort of like reports and everything. So I think the good thing here was that अगर मेरे को गॉब्स जैसा प्लेटफॉर्म मिलता है और मैं बोलता हूँ कि ओके, मेरे को 2050 में इंडिया का बिल्ट एनवायरनमेंट किस तरह का होगा, उसमें किस तरह के मटेरियल्स यूज होंगे, क्या हार्ड टू अबेट सीमेंट का, स्टील का कैसे होगा, तो इज दिस काइंड ऑफ अ टूल एक्चुअली यूजफुल. सो आई थिंक दैट इज, तो हम लोग का था कि ओके, कार्बन एमिशंस आपको फोरकास्ट करने हैं, आपको इक्विपमेंट और अप्लायंस की एफिशिएंसी की ट्रैजेक्टरी कुछ पता है, कुछ मटेरियल्स का पता है, बट व्हाट इज इट दैट वी आर डूइंग नाउ. वी नो कि ओके, लास्ट ईयर में हम लोग बार बार बोलते थे कि रफली 1 बिलियन स्क्वायर मीटर इंडिया बिल्ड कर रहा है. मतलब दिस इज अ नंबर दैट आई हैव बीन कोटिंग फॉर अ लॉन्ग टाइम. आप NIUA से हो और हम लोग को मालूम है कि अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग में शायद 70%, 60-70% उसी में इनफॉर्मल. बट ऑल द डिस्कशन दैट हैज बीन हैपनिंग, कमर्शियल बिल्डिंग्स, आई थिंक कि हमारे पास में CBRE के लोग हैं, लोधा के लोग हैं, WRI के लोग बैठे हुए हैं, राहुल, मतलब ये सब. तो हम लोग मोस्टली जो एक्चुअली जो बड़ा जो आई थिंक व्हाट इज द बिग थिंग दैट इज हैपनिंग इन इंडिया, इसको हम लोग मिस कर जाते हैं। एक अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग का आई थिंक डिस्कशन था जिसमें हम लोग उसको एड्रेस करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। सो आई थिंक दैट दिस इज लाइक समथिंग दैट वी नीड टू बैलेंस आउट with what are the interventions that are actually going to move the needle and back it up with data. And I think this is where I think why we are doing this hackathon, and some of the things that I think the students are coming up with. I think I was very impressed कि they found out कि धरावी में ये काफी सारे बिल्डिंग्स जो हैं उसमें मैप नहीं है, और वो इसलिए नहीं मैप्ड हैं क्योंकि वो इनफॉर्मल सेटलमेंट्स के हैं, एंड देयर इज अ कॉन्फिडेंस इंटरवल दैट यू कैन ट्वीक इन गूगल ओपन बिल्डिंग्स में, जिससे आप उसको इंक्लूड करो या एक्सक्लूड करो। तो आई थिंक दीज आर द इनसाइट्स। अगर किसी म्युनिसिपल कमिश्नर को पता करना है कि कहाँ पे आपका मेरा अनऑथोराइज कंस्ट्रक्शन हो रहा है, तो दिस टूल एक्चुअली कैन हेल्प यू डू दैट। अगर किसी को पता करना है कि ओके मेरे में अफोर्डेबल हाउसिंग का कितना है, या कितना पर ईयर ओवर ईयर मेरा केगर कितना है, या कितना स्क्वायर किलोमीटर का नया कंस्ट्रक्शन बन गया, तो आई थिंक दीज आर द थिंग्स दैट कैन बी डन। तो आई थिंक पॉलिसी together with I think the data is something that we believe can actually make a significant difference. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll pick up from Stacey, and I think he has really talked about कि data use करना बहुत ज़रूरी है to make an informed decision. But Sumedha, I come to you. We all talk about what to be done, which I think Stacey ji ने बोल दिया. He also talked about why it is to be done. Rahul and Stacey also answered how it is to be done, which is there. Nobody talks about who is going to do it. And जब तक वो institution जिनकी capacity ही नहीं है, जिसमें and I've been 30 years in the urban profession, मैं urban local body में जाऊं और मैं कहूं मेरे पास ये कौन है, किसको बोलूं? Who is the owner of this data? And I had a discussion in the morning, so give me 1 minute. While we all talk about that BE is doing energy efficiency, Malik to Mahua hai, usse koi baat nahi karta hai. So how do you see, and Mahua again down there. So my question to you, as simple as thing, change tab tak टिकता है जब तक system बदलेगा, और उस सिस्टम को बदलने के लिए द कैपेसिटी, द चैलेंजेस ऑफ स्किल्स, द चैलेंजेस ऑफ ट्रेनिंग, बिकॉज ऑल दिस सॉल्यूशन रिक्वायर एन एजेंसी, एंड इफ यू डोंट हैव एन इफेक्टफुल एजेंसी, how do you look at it? So you come from the capacity background. What you need to be changed to make urban local body appreciate the requirement, the need, and the way forward for that. Yeah, over to you.
Thanks, sir. This is a very big question, very, very loaded question. But also you spoke a lot about the political economy side of it, which is what everyone is like the biggest elephant in this room. We know that there are certain actors who have the interest but have no influence, and there are actors who have influence but no interest. Okay, let's keep that aside. Just sort of sharing a few nuggets from our recent experience with the GOBS data set. So one application that we tried at the state level, where we are working with the state of Assam on developing a cooling action plan for the state. And for the longest time, there is no commercial buildings footprint data for the state. But when GOBS got launched, we were able to get that data. But it's only at a commercial building stock level. So how do you think about what are the layers to that commercial building typology? So therein we sort of added the ULB data, which we got, which basically talked about the percentages across different building typologies in the commercial building category. And therefore, we were able to get some idea about what the current baseline commercial building stock is across different building typologies. How is it projected in the future, given the growth rates that we have? And also applied certain other data sets, basically to understand the cooling demand. So what is the cooling appliance equipment efficiency at the building level? Some good numbers behind that. And that was a decision that we took like internally on the methodology. Now we have this number, and now we need to figure out who is the agency which is going to actually work on the recommendations for commercial buildings. Again, with different owners, different types of players, each building, if we start to tackle building by building, it will not cut it. cut to a city level decision making, which is what you said, talked about, sir. So our team is actually working on the first ward level climate action plans for the city of Bangalore. And all climate action plans have an energy and buildings chapter. But when it comes to ward level recommendations or ward level implementation of projects, they have nothing, because no decision on building sector or energy sector are being taken at the ward level, which go in that climate action space. So what we decided to, think about is in terms of how do you overlay the decision making jurisdiction. So you have the DISCOM, which has a jurisdiction in the terms of circles, subdivisions, and you have the ULBs, which talk about wards, and your councillors are again at the ward level. So the more decision-making jurisdictions you add and them sort of not overlaying, the more we have all these slippages as far as decisions are concerned. So how do we tackle that? Like the sort of the historical problem of Indian cities lacking the ability to have energy planning being done along with urban planning. Because the main problem that we have in cities, apart from waste management, is energy, and which is what we are currently struggling with. And if there is a way for us to sort of look at converging these data sets, what those algorithms are going to look like, what models can be developed, when we bring in the electricity consumption data, maybe the energy consumption apart from electricity at different utilities level, and this GOBS data, what insights can actually emerge could be truly something to look at.
Thank you. Again, I was reminded that we are running out of time, so I'll ask one simple question and one pointer. What do you think should be done at a local level? Because I come from a city background, so I'll focus, because I feel this GOBS data or any other is the owner or a buyer for this product is the urban local body. What change you think is required at the city level if this becomes what Sumedha was saying? Planning it need to be relooked at it, data need to be relooked at it, convergence need to be looked at, or a narrative has to be changed. So I'll leave it to you. I'll start with Satish ji, your call for action, if I can call it. What is should be there?
So I framed this question like which is the agency with the agency, right? I think what we are talking about. Yeah. So I think for GOBS, I would say there are, I think, three, one is the energy part, one is the planning part, and one is the resilience part. I think these are the three areas where we are looking. So I think in the energy part, of course, I think we need to strengthen. I mean, Bureau is doing, but I think lots of discussion happening that things need to move to the state level. And I think the state structures, I think in terms of empowerment and others, that need to change. Otherwise, we will keep on struggling. So I think whether SDA structure needs to change, some of them become independent. So that's one. I think at the municipal corporation, urban and local body level, I think this is where some of the work is happening. What I think what would be really helpful is that if the work that government is doing on master plans, on land use planning, and some of that, if that can be digitized, and maybe they are already digitized, but they are not available publicly, the accuracy of, I think, the classification, land use classification will get better. Actually, it's not very good right now in GOBS, but those are some of the areas. So if they actually start to look at, and they say that, okay, can I actually have something which will tell me, I think, where, I think, how I can get more out of this. So that, and the third is, I would say, the NDMA and SDMA. I think that's the structure where some of the flooding risk and the earthquake risk, and what's the population and what's the building damage that can happen, and what will be the cost of, I think, a rebuild and that kind of thing. So these will be the three things. I know that these are the conventional structures, but even if they are actually able to do some of the work, then that would be really good. Thank you.
Yeah, I think what Satish mentioned, if that happens, that is great. But the other thing I feel, maybe to get to that stage, what we need to do is, first stage is there are lot of think tanks and other organizations who actually keep on amplifying or keep on providing inputs to various these local bodies or state bodies. They need to start using like how WRI used it, and Sumedha gave an excellent example of how this was useful. So my wish list right now, the number one wish list is make sure that everyone else who is working on the field should acknowledge that there is a tremendous effort put in by AEEE and partners for making this data set available. And let's start using this as a straightaway starting point and not waste any more time on recreating or creating more noise around it. And the second thing, I hope that if there are a lot of local active groups of citizens and other things are there in different cities and other thing, if they realize that this data set is available, because I have been part of many such groups in different cities, and many times there are a lot of like right-minded, very passionate and influential people who are there, but they just don't have access to a lot of this data so that when they go to some of these local body meetings, they can present it. So now I hope that with this platform being available, and if we can add this sort of a app layer or other thing where the insights can start coming, because if everyone is doing analysis and recreating this, then again we are wasting a lot of energy. So if that layer gets developed and these resources can become popular, that could be a game changer.
Great, thank you. Sumedha?
Yes, so I think Satish ji spoke about how the data with the respect to the informal settlements is actually going to help the ULB understand if there is any irregularities in construction. So can we use the GOPS data set for compliance and enforcement of some of these building regulations? And the way typically ULBs look at it is where can I make money from? How can I generate revenue? So if there's a way we are able to sort of generate revenue through some combination of this data set, looking at say, penalties, the buildings which are non-compliant, and sort of circle back the budget back into climate action implementation. So projects designed which are being funded by all these collections and revenue streams that ULBs are generating, because ULBs are currently struggling with lack of compliance and enforcement machinery. So if GOPS can actually help streamline the enforcement and strengthen enforcement of basic building regulations, then it could be a good.
Great. Thank you. And I think, thank you, panelists. And I'll just sum up with three things, not more than 2 sentences. I know that we are running. So I think thanks, Anna. My thinking of last reading on these 3 documents which has come up is it's very clearly one message which is coming up. And I think, Sumedha, you have talked about. If we really want, cities don't need prescriptions now. They don't need any more prescriptions. They need whatever this data you are presenting, and if it can help them in increasing revenues, it will help them in making them financially viable. It can help them in unlocking the pots which Government of India is creating or state government and creating. They are more than happy to do that. And I think while for the students who presented the thing, only data will not be able to change the cities. That's where I think the question which I think we all need to ask is, who is going to do it? Who is empowered to do it, and how we can empower the cities to do it? And if I take this data, what is that decision next day morning when I open, what is that going to change? And I think we need to get into a more action-oriented approach. While data is going to be the new oil, it's also how do you use that data and to apply that data to make that guy who is sitting in the city more equipped. I think that is where the change will happen. But I really want to thank, and I think excellent presentation, and complexity of urban is cannot be summed up in one area. But I think young people are coming up, and I see them a lot of hope. Because when I was a director, and one thing every time the people used to say, we don't have a cloud, and I used to say, cloud to le आऊंगा, बारिश करके दिखाओ. और अभी the time has come कि जब तक cloud से नहीं होगा, हमें बारिश करनी पड़ेगी, and that is how we can win the trust of the citizens actually back. Otherwise they have lost the trust in urban local bodies and our city systems. So actually action is the real answer now. Thank you very much, and thank you, panelists.
Thank you so much, everybody, for the enriching conversation. Usually we keep question answers after the panel discussion, but since we are running short of time and some of us have a flight to catch right after this, we can take question answers outside of this hall. May I please request the members to please come forward for a picture? And let's have the teams ready for the announcement of results while we are clicking the pictures. So I'll be announcing the first runner-up and the winner, which will give who actually the second runner-up is. So any guesses about the results? Or, okay, we have guesses. Okay, so the teams, any guesses who the first runner-up is? I can see the excitement on team, but okay, so the first runner-up is team Resource Cities. Can I please have you here for the certificate? Thank you so much, team. We are looking forward to collaborate on the idea and convert it into a reality. So now the time for winners. Any guesses? At least teams, at least shout your names. We are expecting some energy here. So the winner is... Da-da-da! So the winner is Team Three Musketeers. The certificate, for the second runner-up, I would request Team Urban Engineers to please come and collect your certificate. We have concluded the session and the competition. I had requested Hitesh sir earlier to please give your 2 cents on your experience of the jury and the competition today.
I thought I already gave and took that time, but it was a great experience to be part of this event. And I think, as I said, the young people have done, and they are the future. I'll give you a small story, and I think that will answer. I was in charge of preparing Delhi Master Plan 2041. And I used to go home and I used to tell my kids, "Tumhara baap Delhi badal raha hai." And my kids, and I could see the blank eyes. My son used to look at me and says, "Papa, take a walk outside." and see whether you can create 2041. But, as I said, while our vision has to be long, our strategies have to be very short term, to reach to that vision. And I think young people today, when they have talked about these complex problems, where a lot of of us are studying, and they, within the short time, came up with such a great solutions. I think we all need to really clap for them, because they are the future. And I'm a planner for 30 years, and I was a part of Smart City Mission. आज आपने बजट में स्मार्ट सिटी नहीं सुना तो वो मेरी फेलियर था, आपका फेलियर नहीं था. तो I really see that, I wish you all the best. I wish you all the success, but don't leave the hope, because that's the only thing we have if we really want to create and move towards the whole big vision of sustainable urban India. I think you are the answer for sustainable urban India. Thank you very much.
To conclude this edition of Feed, I invite Mr. Jayanta Chaudhary, Director, Marketing Alliances and Partnerships, AEEE, for the valedictory session.
Good evening, and thank you. I promise I won't take more than 5 minutes, so please bear with me and, please stay, because there are, I think, so many people to thank, for making this a fantastic 2 days. It's months and months of efforts. I think what really keeps us going, very frankly, is the fact, one of our global partners yesterday said, for 5 years you have been consistently telling the story and connecting energy efficiency and decarbonization. Just, very few conferences and people are doing that. So, keep at it. And also, I think it got reinforced with the overall the theme of the even this time, wherein energy efficiency is a core of Viksit Bharat. I think we do believe that for us to achieve the goals, it's absolutely essential that energy efficiency is the core to everything that we do. That's the only way. And I think what Shri Panigrahi mentioned yesterday, that I think this the goals that we have, or even the energy transitions, is going to be way more than just adding in a renewable energy capacity. It will require sustainable focus on sustainability, equity, and system-wide efficiency. So I think that's something that keeps driving us. And thank you.